Every day, headlines shout warnings about World War III. Social media spreads dramatic images and videos, making it seem like the world is on the edge of chaos. Some posts go viral, showing tanks rolling, missiles flying, or politicians making threats. It's easy to feel scared or overwhelmed by these updates. But are we already living through World War III? Is the next global conflict happening right now, just not called by that name? Many people are asking these questions, especially when so much news feels urgent and frightening. In this essay, we'll look past the panic and focus on clear facts. We will define what a world war really means, look at history, and examine the biggest conflicts happening in 2026. We'll discuss the role of nuclear weapons, the opinions of experts, and what could really start a third world war. The goal is to give you information, not fear. Let's start by taking a deep breath. The facts are often less dramatic than the headlines. Understanding the real situation can help us all stay calm and make sense of a complicated world. Before we talk about today, let's be clear about what a world war is. A world war involves many of the world's strongest and richest countries fighting directly against each other. These wars usually spread across several continents and include huge alliances. The fighting is large-scale, leading to massive destruction and loss of life. World War I, from 1914 to 1918, was triggered by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Major powers like Britain, France, Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary formed two giant alliances. The fighting spread across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and even Asia. Millions were killed or wounded. World War II, from 1939 to 1945, involved even more countries. It began with Germany's invasion of Poland, then spread quickly. The Allies, like the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, fought the Axis, including Germany, Italy, and Japan. Battles happened in Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. The war ended after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In both cases, World War meant that several of the biggest powers were fighting, many nations were drawn in, and the fighting was truly global. That's what sets a world war apart from smaller, regional conflicts. Today's headlines often focus on three major conflicts. The first is the war between Russia and Ukraine. It began in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. The fighting is fierce, and many countries have taken sides politically or through sanctions. But the war is mostly limited to Ukraine and Russia. The second major conflict is the fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Many lives have been lost, and the world is watching closely. Other countries in the Middle East are involved in smaller ways, but the fighting itself stays in the region. The third tension point is between China and Taiwan. China claims Taiwan as its own, while Taiwan wants to remain independent. The United States and other countries support Taiwan, mostly with economic and military aid. So far there has not been direct fighting, but there is a lot of military pressure and threatening language. All these conflicts are serious. They involve important countries and could affect the world economy or security. But each one is still mostly regional, not truly global like World War I or II. One of the key signs of a world war is when big countries start fighting each other directly. Today, that is not happening. The United States, China, Russia, the European Union, and other major powers are not sending their armies to fight each other head-on. Instead, what we see today is called proxy wars. This means that powerful countries support other groups or countries in local conflicts. For example, the United States gives weapons to Ukraine, but American and Russian soldiers do not fight each other on the battlefield. China supports Russia in some ways, but does not send troops. Iran supports groups in the Middle East, but does not fight Israel directly. This type of indirect involvement is very different from the direct battles of past world wars. The big countries are competing and sometimes threatening each other, but they are not openly at war. This keeps the violence contained, at least for now. So, while tensions are high, there is no all-out direct war between major world powers. That is a crucial fact that separates today from the days of world wars. Another reason the world is not in a third world war is the presence of nuclear weapons. Since World War II, several countries, including the United States, Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom, have built up large nuclear arsenals. These weapons are so powerful that they could destroy entire cities in just minutes. This leads to a concept called mutually assured destruction, or MAD. If one nuclear country attacks another with nuclear weapons, both sides would suffer devastating losses. No country wants to risk total destruction, so they avoid using these weapons. Nuclear deterrence has stopped direct wars between the world's biggest powers for over 75 years. Even during the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union were rivals, they never fought each other directly because of this risk. They knew that a nuclear war would be a disaster for everyone. Today, the threat of nuclear war makes leaders very careful about starting big, direct conflicts. This doesn't mean the world is safe from all danger, but it does mean that the most destructive kind of war is much less likely. Geopolitical experts watch the world's conflicts closely. Most agree that the world is facing a time of high tension and instability. However, they do not believe World War III has started. Instead, experts often compare today's situation to the Cold War, when the United States and Soviet Union were rivals but did not fight directly. During the Cold War, there were proxy wars, arms races, and a lot of fear. But there was no formal declaration of world war, and no global alliances fighting on battlefields worldwide. Today's conflicts look similar. Tensions are high, and countries are competing, but formal alliances and open war are missing. Experts also point out that most conflicts are still regional, not global. The world's economic and political ties make it hard for countries to go to war on a massive scale. Leaders know the risks and costs are very high. In short, experts say we are not living through World War III. We are in a period of uncertainty, but the facts do not support the idea that a new world war has already begun. Even though World War III is not happening now, it's important to understand what could trigger such a conflict. Experts warn that a direct attack on a major power, like the United States, Russia, or China, could pull in their allies and start a wider war. Another risk is a mistake or accident, such as a missile hitting the wrong target, or a conflict getting out of control. Conflicts in so-called hotspots like the Taiwan Strait, the Korean Peninsula, or the Middle East could get bigger if new countries join in. Cyber attacks, economic warfare, or terrorist attacks could also spark wider violence if countries blame each other. However, none of these things have happened yet. Leaders and diplomats work hard to avoid crossing these red lines. They know how easily a small fight could turn into something much bigger. Having strong communication and clear rules can help prevent disaster. While the risks are real, most governments and experts are focused on keeping conflicts contained. The world is tense, but it is not at war on a global scale. So, is World War III already happening? The answer, based on all the facts, is no. The world faces serious dangers and high tensions, but there is no global war like those in the past. Major countries are not fighting each other directly. Most conflicts are still local or regional. It's true that today's news and social media can make things feel urgent and scary. Dramatic images and headlines spread quickly, but they often leave out important details. It's easy to get caught up in fear, especially when information comes so fast. The reality is that nuclear weapons, economic ties, and careful diplomacy all work to prevent a new world war. Experts agree that we are not living through World War III, even though the risks are higher than we might like. Remember, facts matter more than fear. The situation is serious, but not out of control. Staying informed and calm is the best way to handle global uncertainty. In times of global tension, it's important to get your news from trusted sources. Don't rely only on dramatic headlines or viral social media posts. Take time to read full articles or watch reliable news programs. Check information from more than one source before believing big claims. It's also helpful to learn some history. Knowing what happened in past world wars and what is different today can make you feel more prepared and less afraid. Understanding the facts gives you power over fear. Talking with friends or family can help you process the news. Don't be afraid to ask questions or take breaks from the news if you feel overwhelmed. Staying calm does not mean ignoring reality. It means facing it with a clear mind. In the end, the world is not at war on a global scale. Stay informed, stay calm, and remember, knowledge is the best way to fight fear.